Welcome back to the Road to National series. In today's episode, I'm going to take you through a lower max workout. So my variation for this week was a banded squat. Now, I've never done a squat max with this amount of band tension before. However, a few weeks ago, this is the squat max that I failed to hit. I wanted to hit at least 200 kilos because I hit 190 kilos with way more band tension with the higher band. So I knew I wanted to hit at least 200. I was nervous for this because I had failed it about 4 weeks ago and just had a terrible workout back then. I was nervous to try and hit it. It was a little bit of a grinder, but I managed to get it. And that was with me basically telling myself I was going to fail. So honestly, I think I just need way more confidence in the squat. And as you can see here, I was very happy to have hit it, basically just because I was really nervous that I was going to fail it. But I am at the level of squatting that I thought I was, that I knew I should have been able to hit there. So I was happy with that. Then my first accessory here was belt squats. I did 200 kilos for a set of 10, which is the heaviest I've ever done. Now, I would have done 2 sets as I always do. However, you might be able to see I've got some pads, some foam pads underneath the buckles of the belt squat because it was pressing in on my inner thighs so much. And I did try and do a second set, but the buckles literally like rubbed all of my skin off my inner thighs. I've ordered a thicker, like more heavy duty pad. It's the only thing limiting me with the belt squat as well. To be honest, I think I had plenty of reps left in the tank. I was happy at taking 10 reps at 200 kilos because that's the most number of reps. I've only done 6 before. But honestly, I feel like 250, 300 kilos is the proper weight that I should be using on that. But the limiting factor is how much the buckles of the belt digs into my thighs. So I decided not to like do a second set and literally make my thighs bleed all over the place because that's going to limit me doing belt squats for a while. I'd have to wait and let it heal up. So instead, I had to call it there, really frustratingly, but sometimes that is just the way of it. At least my quads were at their all-time strongest on the belt squat. So I was happy with the set I'd managed to do. And like I say, I feel like there was much more left in the tank. However, I couldn't show that on the day because they are digging in like ridiculously on my thighs. And I've got like terrible like black bruising all down my inner thighs. So it's a bit frustrating, but when I get my next pad, that should be enough to sort out. Otherwise, I'm going to have to look at like a different belt alternative without any buckles at all, some sort of a strap that doesn't have any metal on it. So the next accessory here is hamstring curls. Now, I went pretty heavy on these at 70 pounds. I think the heaviest I've ever gone is like 80 pounds for sets of 8. And here I managed to get sets of 15 at 70 pounds. So this was definitely a big PR at this weight. I think I've only been able to get sets of 12 before at this weight. So sets of 15 was great. It is in line with what I should be able to get based on lighter weights. On the 60 pound weight, the one below, I've managed to get like a set of 20, 22. So I do think 15 reps was to be expected, but I've just never gone that heavy before. And I spoke last time I did these about how I'd been getting a little bit of pain behind the knees when doing this exercise, and that I think that was limiting me at the heavier weights. But that was not an issue here at all. The back of my knees were fine completely. So I was happy with that and happy to hit just a simple accessory PR, keeping things ticking over. So moving on to the next accessory here, it was calf raises. I did these on the belt squat. That's why I left the belt squat setup. And this didn't dig into my thighs because the buckles only really dig into my thighs at the base of the squat. So if you were wondering why I had to call off the belt squats, but I'm able to do these were fine because the buckles aren't like actually digging into my thigh until the bottom position. And I think I got sets of like 12 or 15 at 200 kilos here, just flat. I didn't elevate my the balls of my feet like I normally do with calf raises. The advantage of that is that you get a bigger stretch, but because this was very heavy, 200 kilos, this is like the heaviest I've done calf raises. I decided to just do them flat on the floor and really focus on the contraction and overloading as much weight as possible. So that is the heaviest I've ever done calf raises for the most number of reps, so that was good as well. Then moving on to the next accessory here, it was hip adductions. So this exercise with the roller hits both adductions when you do it. Like when you're trying to come out of that bottom position, you think of squeezing both legs together. So the standing supporting leg is doing as much work as the moving leg. I do one set with the right leg on the roller and the other set with the left, just to make it even, but both sides are being hit whichever way you do it. Now, I didn't go as deep as I could on these in order for me to get more reps. I wanted the rep range to be about 8 reps, which is what I think I got here, sets of 8. But if I go all the way as deep as I can, like as far into the splits as I can actually get back up. I have the strength to do it, but only for about 4 reps. So instead, I decided to cut the range of motion. That is how I progressively overload this exercise, is through range of motion rather than weight. So I can, if I ever like hit a ridiculous point where I can basically go completely down into the splits and back up for like sets of 15 or something, then maybe I could add weight. I could like hold a dumbbell or something, but I don't foresee that happening anytime soon. I am like 250 pounds, so this is a very challenging exercise. It's my favorite version of hip adductions by a mile. It's challenging throughout the entire range of motion, although the top you'd think would be very easy. As soon as you've done a few reps, continuing to squeeze in, because the bottom position's so hard, you're getting so fatigued, it feels hard at the top as well. And I've noticed since starting to do this exercise, my inner thighs, my adductors have got way bigger, which might be the reason that the belt squat is rubbing along my inner thighs a lot as well, is because they're much bigger now. But anyway, happy with those hip adductions. And then to end off, I had reverse hypers. As always, when I'm doing reverse hypers, I did just do 2 sets of 15 at 150 kilos. Now, if this becomes crazy easy, as it normally is comfortable to do, I might up the weight in future. However, the main purpose of this exercise is basically just to pump up the lower back, the posterior chain as a whole. Sometimes I can feel it in my upper back more, sometimes in my glutes more, or hamstrings more, but mostly it is a lower back exercise. That is what it was designed by Louis Simmons for. He broke his back or like herniated a disc or did something like that. And he used this exercise, he designed this reverse hyper in order to rehabilitate it, and that's what I use it for, is just general GPP and conditioning of the posterior chain. It's not like a traditional accessory where I'd overload it, you know, week after week, like every other accessory I'm talking about, like the hamstring curls or the calf raises or the belt squats. It is just there to pump up the posterior chain. So that is it for today's video. I hope you did in fact enjoy the video. If you did, drop it a like, drop it a comment, subscribe, click the bell, all that wonderful stuff, and I hope you have a great day.